are back. We just finished episode, what was that, 6 of Survivor Second Chances. Supposedly a lot happened in this episode, but I only really remember one thing, and that is the fact that Joe Anglem got oiled up, and everybody was excited. I was trying to find a picture for all of our fans, because that would have been a nice thing to have on here. I mean, that's all I remember from the episode. I mean, that was like a dream come true for 95% of our audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wu got voted out. If you don't remember, so
I don't.
Wu is gone. I'll say it right now. I mean, we talked about this our last 2 podcasts. Who had a better chance at winning, Wu or Cass? Who is it, Phil? Answer for me.
Well, today it's Cass, but as of last week, I still thought it was Wu.
I know. I'm just letting you know you're wrong. Like, you were wrong.
Well, I'm just going to bring – I mean, while we're still talking about it, I mean, yeah, I was completely wrong on that. But, man, if Chaos Cass comes out, man, neither of them had a good chance to win, and we shouldn't have put either of them in our top 5. Because if Chaos Cass starts coming out now, that's going to be that.
I don't know. I think people kind of respect Chaos Cass, especially, like, she's made it this far and hasn't really done anything that crazy. I mean, tonight was a little bit crazy. If you really want to think about what she did, she single-handedly, like, saved Spencer from the game, which is completely insane.
You said she hasn't done anything that crazy so far. This is her first tribal. And, of course, she brings out Chaos Cass at her first tribal, saves her arch nemesis, and votes out Wu. Of all people, Wu. Like, an unthreatening guy she gets rid of to save Spencer. It's like, what am I watching? Yeah, Chaos Cass is back, and we just had to wait for her to actually go to tribal once. Same with Sierra. Not Chaos Sierra, but we got a fun Sierra tonight. We just have to get these people going to tribal council. Maybe Keith will be fun next week because he has to go to tribal.
Right, that's true. So Keith, how many people never had to go? Keith and Joe?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's just Keith and Joe. And Jeremy. No, Jeremy went last week. Yeah, it's just Keith and Joe.
Keith and Joe never went. Okay, so it'll be fun to see them go. Spencer voted with Abby, Cass, and Sierra, like all villains. And I know Sierra is like a fan favorite, and I mean Cass is too, and Abby is too. I guess villains are all fan favorites, but Sierra you can classify her as our villain. Spencer voted with the villains tonight, so that was actually really cool how that all shaked out.
Yeah, and I mean, for this whole entire episode, I thought we were going to lose Terry and Savage, and it was going to be like Jeff's worst nightmare because I really thought they were setting up Savage for a beautiful little blindside. The way he just kept talking about how great his numbers were and how great everything was. Yeah, they blindsided Savage, but Wu goes home, so it's not the same thing. I really thought Savage was done. And then when they brought up Wu's name, I'm like, well, Savage makes it another day. But, man, he is not long for this game at all. He still does not understand, like, what's going on.
They set him up hard. I mean, he had multiple quotes saying, like, it can't be me. Mm-hmm. I'm safe. I got the numbers. I love the tribe swap.
I have my group of 3 within my group of 5, and I have my group of 5 within, like, my group of 7. Like, he was so pumped. Yeah, and Wu's gone.
And it is. And you know why it's Wu and not Savage?
Why?
Do you want to take a guess?
Because Wu was from Cagayan?
No, it's because Abby Maria wanted Wu.
Oh, yeah. And what's great, though, is tonight ends the Abby Maria and Wu feud, and we didn't even have to hear from Abby Maria. Abby Maria, this was your best episode so far.
Well, this was great editing because they didn't make it all about Abby, but I think it really was. I think Sierra tweeted something about it. Like, someone tweeted at her asking, why would you take out Wu instead of Savage? Savage is a much bigger threat. Mm-hmm. And I think Sierra said it was Abby. Abby would not vote Savage. She would only vote for Wu. So that was their only really option. Do you think this was a good move by them? I mean, do you want to start from the beginning or?
Well, I mean, no, we might as well just start from there. I don't think it was a good move at all. Spencer can win the game. You said it last week. Wu can't win the game. And I fought hard to say Wu could win the game, but it was still on that sketchy area of can Wu really win the game? Spencer can easily win the game. Spencer is seriously a threat come merge time, and the merge is happening next week. Wu, not a threat. I mean, I think this is a dumb move to keep around a guy like Spencer who can win immunities against all 3 of those girls who were in that alliance, and he's going to be strategic. Wu was just going to sit there, and he was just going to fight for his life the entire time. He didn't have any numbers, and I know Spencer doesn't have any numbers, but he can easily work his way in. I mean, Wentworth, he could work his way back to Wentworth, and Wentworth had wanted to work with him before the season started. So I think this is a stupid move to get rid of Wu right before the merge instead of Spencer.
Yeah, I understand why they did it. I mean, if you look at Wu, he's tight with Kelly Wigglesworth and Savage. You know he's probably close with Tasha. I mean, at the tribe swap, Savage made this big thing. Yeah, we're the Encore 4. We're all super tight. He even tells, like, Cass, me, Wu, and Abby were inseparable. So, like, that sets off some, alarms in your head. Wait, Wu was inseparable from Savage? Like that, we don't want them, these two, strong competitors sticking together and having numbers. So it does make sense, but I agree with you. I mean, if you get an opportunity to take out Spencer, like, you got to do it. I don't know why. I mean, when it was him or Shireen in the air in episode 2, I think Spencer probably would have been the better move, even though, Shireen is not as good at challenges. The only reason Shireen did end up going home was because she was trying to flip it on Varner. So it's kind of 2 times now. Spencer really should have gone home, and someone kind of, saved himself.
And I know the merge is early, but look at this merge tribe right now. 6 of these people I probably wouldn't have expected to be here. Seriously. Like, coming into the game, I could have seen Cass, Abby, Sierra, Spencer, Steven, and
Joe
all going before we hit the merge. And now there's 7 people gone, and those 6 people are still in this game. Like, that is absolutely insane.
Right. And it's not like I didn't think any of them would make the merge, but for all 6 of them too, man, it just is a tribute to how good this boot list is going. I mean, you see Vetus and Wu and Varner. I mean, those are the males we've lost. And then it was Shireen, PG, and Monica Padilla. I mean, it's all coming up good.
And we did lose Terry too. So that kind of sucks.
We did. But that's
I would have liked to have seen Terry hit the merge just because I would have liked to have seen how he actually can compete in the way the challenges have changed since Panama. And he still seemed like he was in really good shape, and I would have liked to have seen how he could actually compete individually. Sucks he went out that way. I guess if we're going to get into that, I just want to say one more thing before we actually get into the beginning of this episode. I actually think Abby Maria is loyal to Savage and Tasha. I know she voted Wu out tonight.
She flipped on Savage.
No, I know she voted Wu out tonight, but I think that's more because she hated Wu than that she wanted to get back at Savage. And I actually think that, like Sierra was tweeting out, I wanted to get rid of, or Abby Maria wanted to get rid of Wu, she wouldn't vote for Savage. I think Abby really does want to stay loyal to Savage, but she was too emotionally attached to getting rid of Wu. And she plays a short-sighted game, let's be honest.
Yeah, she wasn't going to let that one go. And it is interesting how they didn't even show that. Like, Abby, like, that was a pretty big flip on her part, and it was just brushed over in the edit. Like, suddenly Cass and Sierra, they have Abby on their side. We didn't even see that conversation happen. They wheel in Spencer, and boom, you have 4. So I wonder why they didn't show us that.
Here's my only guess at it, is the editors want Abby Maria to be a villain with a one-track mind. They don't want to show any other sides of Abby Maria other than that she's a villain. Plus, Abby Maria doesn't really have a chance to win the game, whereas Cass and Sierra do. So they probably wanted to show, like, look, Cass and Sierra are making moves. They can still win. And they didn't want to give all the credit to Abby because everybody pretty much knows at this point Abby's not going to win the game. So I really think that has something to do with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It just seems like that was such a big part of this vote, getting Abby to flip on Wu and Savage, who we heard time and time again in this episode that 4 from Encore were so tight. You think it would have just been mentioned at least once. I mean, they don't have to do. I'm kind of glad they didn't because, like we keep saying, we've seen enough of Abby this season, but it was kind of interesting. I mean, here I am complaining that I didn't see Abby, but I'm also happy I didn't see Abby. It was
the first real thing she did that was like worth screen time, Like, I mean, she's done other stuff that's cool this season, but like this was like the first like move she did that needed screen time.
Yeah, I mean, she's flipped back and forth a lot, and we usually just see, something from her saying, you're dead to me, I'm flipping. But there really wasn't anything else. I guess Wu voted for her twice. That was it. I guess it was just simple. They didn't really need to get into it. Let's talk about Terry here. This was intense. Like, the opening from the episode, we don't join up with Bion coming back from Tribal Council. We start with the boat, Jeff coming in. His shirt, probably blue, but in this kind of grayscale lighting, it was kind of tough with the night cams to see what color his shirt was. I thought it might have been white. What do you think?
Yeah, it was tough. I'd have to go back and take a look. I like how that's what was intense about this episode, or about this scene. No, I didn't even think about it because you're the one who has to keep an eye out for that stuff. I'll go back and double check though. I don't know.
No, I watched the scene twice. There's no way we can, 100% confirm. But Jeff Probst did visit camp, and I get 3 points for that. So that helps my fantasy team. This was just sad, man. And Terry, I like the guy, but I'm not so sad that he left because he's not the most entertaining character to watch on TV. His head's not fully in the game. We saw last week the 5 on that Takio tribe were against him, and he was on his own, but he, was happy as could be, saying it's paradise. What makes this so bad is just the way it happened, the reason why he had to leave. So, yeah, very, really tough to watch and just so sad for him and his family and everything. But I don't think it's that big of a loss in terms of, the rest of the season.
See, I thought originally when I had heard that this was going to happen, I thought it was going to come out at a challenge, kind of like what happened with Jenna Maraska in All-Stars, where it was my mom is sick, I need to leave. And I thought it was going to be they come into a reward challenge and Terry goes. For Jeff Probst to show up on a boat, Terry is passed out asleep. It probably was 4 a.m. or something ridiculous. Gets pulled on. And it's Terry, you got to come talk to me on the beach. And I don't even want to know what was going through Terry's mind at that point. And especially when it brings up your son is in the hospital. Jesus Christ, man. Terry had no clue what was going on, and I can't even imagine what happened to him after that. I can't imagine what was going through his head. I don't want to have to imagine what was going through his head. It's hard to see him go that way. I have much more of an attachment to Terry than you do. I've just always liked Terry. His brother's actually one of my best friend's dentists. So I've seen that guy, and my friends I actually gotten to talk to Terry's brother about stuff like that. But it's just cool. He's from by where I live. So it was always cool. When I was younger watching the show, this guy's from near where I lived. He's killing it on Survivor. It was cool. So I have a little more of an attachment to Terry. I would have liked to have seen him do really well this season. He's still a personal favorite of mine. So it sucks that it sucks that he went out, and it really sucks that he had to go out this way.
Yeah, I don't really know what he possibly could have been thinking. It almost seemed like he was half awake. When someone wakes you up and you're kind of you're in your daze, and then they say something and you're yeah, for sure. You want to pretend that you're all with it and you're good and you're awake. So you're just come talk to me on the beach. He's oh yeah, no problem. Sure. As if he got caught doing something wrong or something. So he totally wasn't with it. And then for Jeff not to specify what it was, that seemed odd to me, because if you're going to call someone, pull them from the game, don't you want to give them some specifics? Was he in a car accident and he broke his leg? Or is this he needs a heart transplant? You think they would give him at least any detail and maybe they did and they edited it out because they, for whatever reason, didn't want to get into actually what it was. But that seemed odd.
I think that's exactly what it is, though. I think that they didn't want to bring it up during the show, where it was his son had a heart or your son had a heart problem. I guess they didn't want to get into the completely personal stuff. Kind of leave that up to Terry and his family to to say what they feel is necessary. It was good at the end to see that his son is alive and doing well and had the heart transplant and everything. But they probably didn't want to come out on TV when 10 million people are watching and say, hey, look, your son's heart just stopped working or whatever ended up happening. They probably didn't want to get too into it. Let Terry reveal it as he wants to. So I'm sure that Terry did know while he was leaving that beach that there was something wrong with his son's heart, and that's what the issue was. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense. Man, yeah, that was brutal. It was, Keith was crying. That's always good to see when Keith cries, just because it's Keith. I like seeing him on screen. Cass was crying. Everyone talking about it at the reward challenge. It was just, man, it really was sad. And it was actually a very dramatic moment for television. And I think overall it's a good, not good that it happened, but I think it was a good moment on the show, and that someone watching that can really feel connected to the players in the game and understand that these are people playing, and that, it is a game, but man, it can, there's real life outside of it.
And that's the key, that Terry's a real person. And that's probably why he's not as well liked nowadays. On this season, he wasn't as important to the season because he's a real guy. He's not so much of a Survivor player. He's just a real guy who originally came out for the adventure the first time. So, here's this real guy who just gets this heartbreaking news about his son who looked like he was a healthy guy. I mean, it seemed, I guess his son, I want to say it had something to do with a lacrosse game or a football game where something happened to his heart. So, here's his kid who's healthy and young. And, you could tell everybody was absolutely devastated by this. I mean, originally, though, if you're there on that island And Jeff brings in Takeo last and says, get a good look at the new Takeo tribe. Are you sitting there thinking, wow, they did a secret tribal council or something? Like, are you thinking something like that? Because it's so random for somebody like Terry to not come walking back out. You know Terry's not sick, and you know Terry's like not going to get injured or quit. You know?
No. Look at who fell in the fire in season 2. It was Scoopin, who was great at challenges, great at camp life, strong guy. He was fit. So I think that immediately they think Terry got injured. That's your first thought.
Yeah.
And then obviously Jeff explained it, and then everything kind of sinks in. Do you have anything more on Terry?
Well, there was a question from somebody last week that was, if Terry didn't leave the game, would they have still merged this episode, or would they have switched tribes when they did? Do you think that they were going to go like a couple of days, vote somebody out, and then do it? And do you think that this whole Terry thing actually sped up the process and might have eliminated like a double boot that they had lined up later down the road?
It seems so weird. I've thought about this now because it's almost too convenient how it played out. Because Jeff comes in. Apparently, this is the night after, Bion goes to tribal council. He shows up in the boat. He says, "I just got a call. I just got off the phone." But what if they had known for like a day, and Jeff tells Terry's wife, "Look, we can get him, but like, can we wait a day? We need to do one more tribal council first." Like, is that at all possible?
It probably is, and here's my whole thinking behind this. Jeff said the doctor and your wife think it's bad enough for you to leave the game. But at the same point, at that time, I don't know if his son was seriously on his deathbed or if he was recovering as they waited for the heart transplant. So they might have said, yes, we actually can wait a day. And maybe something like that did that happen. And I don't think, if that is the case, I don't think that's Survivor being scummy. I think that's just their way of saying, hey, like, is it something where if Terry shows up there, if Terry doesn't show up there today, is his son going to die? Or is it just something where it's life-threatening and you want him to be there because it could be like the last month of your son's life? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's
and to be there for support of the family. I think he has other kids. Yeah, I don't know. There's also a chance that this wasn't the night Angkor went or Bion went to tribal council, and maybe because usually this is what happens. They have like tribal council one night, the end of an episode. Then they have a day, I think, of emptiness, right? They have just a blank day to kind of, recover from the immunity challenge the day before. And then they have reward day 2, immunity and tribal day 3. So maybe they had that whole day and then they just started on day 2.
Sometimes that changes, though, because sometimes I know, like in later seasons, they would do the reward challenge on day 1 of the cycle, and then it would be a day of nothing in between, and then the immunity would be day 3. So it changes all the time. Now there's really not the 3-day structure of Survivor anymore.
There sort of is, though. I mean, each episode is 3 days, unless it's like a double boot episode.
Yeah, I'm just saying, though, because sometimes, I mean, there are certain days where it's like, oh, this is a 2-day boot, because now that they have more people on the show, it doesn't work out as evenly where you can just do it every 3 days. You have to pick up the pace sometimes. So I don't know. I mean, it did seem convenient. Maybe it was
it aligned. Maybe the stars aligned for this one.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. As messed up as it sounds, maybe the stars aligned that Terry's wife didn't call until then. Like maybe that's just how it was. It's hard to say, but I guess let's get into what's like the rest of what was a great episode tonight. We've talked a lot about Terry. Much love to Terry.
Much love to Terry. It made it part of it. It set like the tone for a very intense episode. Mm-hmm. So good. It's glad that Danny is okay. That was a nice moment at the end, and they put Woo's final words before the preview and everything. That was well done. Tribe swap. Again, we get no bag of buffs. Very disappointed about this. I know Cole Jordan, it was a great idea, and it's just not working out.
Yeah, it's a shame. It just doesn't seem like it's going to work. It even seems like they're just going to go to the merge feast, pick up the buffs, and that's it.
Like they're not going to toss the merge buffs. So it's a real shame. It'd be so easy to do the egg splatter. I don't know why they don't do that. It's such visual television, and people get paint on themselves. It unites the tribes. It's fun. I don't know why they don't do that.
Yeah, I don't either. But it was just here's a little box, untie it, show your buffs. We didn't really get – it's hard to, like, comprehend who's got what. You know what I mean? Because they're all just like pulling up the buffs at different times, so you don't really know what's going on.
They changed the box. Now it was like a little like cylinder. Like I don't know what's going on. The last time it was like a Chinese finger trap thing. But anyway, the new tribes, we knew them headed in. Kelly Wentworth is all alone on new Bion tribe. This is the third version of the Bion tribe. She's got Joe, Jeremy, the Alphas, and then Kimmy and Steven and Keith are there. And then it's Spencer and Cass reunite. Wu is also there from Cagayan. We have Savage, Abby, Sierra, Kelly Wigglesworth, too.
And much more even. These tribes ended up being much more even than we thought originally it was going to be. I thought Bayam was going to wipe the floor with the KO, and they got pretty lucky to win that last challenge, the immunity challenge at least, which we'll get into later. But they weren't as strong as I thought they were going to be. This worked out pretty well, and it was good to finally start seeing some of these people play the game. Like, I can't say it enough. Like, Sierra finally playing tonight. It's like, yes, there's like the strategist Sierra that we wanted to see when we voted her back on. There's Cass that we wanted to see when we voted her back on. It was just good to see, these tribes actually come together, and we actually got pretty good moments from both sides where we actually got to see strategy.
Yeah, even Joe strategized at some point in this episode. Do you want to talk at all about this reward challenge? I mean, I know you already brought up Joe with the oil. Abby's butt was looking massive.
There was one other one that made me laugh, and I forget exactly who it was. I think it might have been Kimmy versus like Cass or something. But like, I forget exactly who it was, but they like ran out and they slid and they went nowhere. And they got up and like tried to run and they like couldn't do it. I think it was actually
I think it was Kimmy.
Well,
Maybe
Kimmy
Steven
was doing like a little shuffle, but it was Cass versus somebody before that who just like they both slid and they went absolutely nowhere. Like absolutely nowhere. It was really funny.
I love the Kelly versus Kelly duel at the end. That was great too.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see Kelly Wentworth oiled up as well. Steven was just awful at this. I mean, abysmal. And he's holding it. He's taking so much time. I mean, he is so unathletic. I remember him being like the nerdy guy in Token Jeans, but not like this uncoordinated. Like, it's absurd.
I know nothing of Steven's background, but this is like the typical kid where it's like my dad never threw a baseball to me. Like, Steven has like no hand-eye coordination. Like, it's brutal. Even him like running, like you could tell like he was just nerdy. Like, that's just who he is. But we finally got a different side of Steven, which we'll get to, and I'll let you take that one because that is all you, because I know you love that. But like, I mean, he was dreadful. And I actually thought the best matchup of the entire thing was Wu versus Joe. That was freaking awesome. How like Wu just like leapt and threw it because he knew Joe was going to hit it on his first shot anyway. And it bounces off the back and it's like, oh, damn. You know what I mean? But I thought that was just fantastic.
That was great. And then I think the Savage and Jeremy just opened it off.
Great too.
I mean, they both hit it on their first try. Jeremy gets it just in time. I also like Jeremy yelling at Steven, like, have confidence in yourself. Jeremy has just been fantastic this season. He has a couple more moments later in this episode that just show he's fun all around. Do you like Jeremy now? I mean, I know you were a little kind of like, oh, he's too complaining and stuff, but he's having fun out there.
In San Juan del Sur, I was Team Josh. Out here, I love Jeremy. I think Jeremy's he's like the best person to bring back for like this type of season where it's like he gets the second chance and he starts to become more entertaining because he's feeling it a little bit more. He doesn't feel as much pressure as the first time. He learned a little bit. And yeah, I think Jeremy's been absolutely fantastic this season. I wasn't that excited for him to play again. I think I might have voted for him once. Like, I wasn't huge on Jeremy, but
I was voting Jeremy every time.
I just didn't like the whole San Juan del Sur thing. The only one I voted for was Wentworth just because there weren't that many San Juan del Sur people. I wasn't voting Keith because I didn't want him back on. I wanted somebody like Jim Rice back on. But, like, hey, now that it's all said and done, San Juan del Sur has brought it this season. And I feel like if we go back and rewatch that season, we're going to enjoy it more because we like these three people more now.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a San Juan del Sur podcast rewatch in the off season.
Since that was our first season anyway, we only got to do 2 episodes of it. Maybe that's what we'll do in the off season.
Yeah, and we'll get Joe Proust to call in. We'll set that up as well. So Takio wins this reward challenge. We finally get the reunion that everyone's been waiting for. Cass and Spencer. I mean, this really is the best, and I'm so sad that it's only the last one episode. I think the merge is coming way too early. I would love to see both these tribes are really fun. We had a lot of good moments. But the small talk from Spencer and Cass early on, like passing the watermelon, oh man, so good.
Fantastic. Beautiful, awkward moments from the two of them. And you knew Survivor, like the producers were just eating that up. They were so happy the two of them were back together. And we didn't get that. We're not going to get more than one episode with that. But Spencer and Cass are still going to be on the island together for the rest of this game now. So as far as they go, which we both think that they can go far, man, I think we're going to get some really good Spencer and Cass moments. I can't believe Cass kept Spencer around tonight.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope they become a team. I mean, that's my dream now. I mean, what if it's Final Two, Cass and Spencer?
Be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Savage for a minute here. He had some everything was weird with him tonight. I got a weird vibe from Savage at the tribe swap. Before Jeff, told everyone drop their buffs and shock them. He said, Anchor is strong, we're cohesive, we're inseparable, all this stuff. And then just like drop your buffs, and Savage like, that's the best news I got all day. And he seemed so happy about it. And then he starts saying, I'm not going home. I don't know. Did you notice kind of that disconnect where he seemed really happy with his 4, but then he seemed so happy to leave them and go back to Bayon?
I don't think he was happy to leave them and go back to Bayon. I think he was happy to leave the Angkor Beach. I think he was so pumped to get away from the Angkor Beach because he'd been talking about how it was hell the entire time. And that's really all we've heard from the people who have been voted out of the Angkor Beach. They were saying it was just absolutely terrible. I think it was more that he couldn't wait to leave there as opposed to breaking up his alliance. How much happier would he have been if it would have been Tasha instead of Abby? Probably a lot happier. But I think that I don't think he was happy to break up his alliance. I think he was just happy that he was leaving that beach and actually getting to go and live.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. When we think tribe swap, we think, okay, if you're in a good position, if you're in control in your tribe, you probably don't want to switch. If you're on the bottom, drop your buffs is music to your ears. But that's another thing. I guess he's living at this beach. Even though he was in control, it does, he's so stoked to leave it.
And Jeremy's old school, man. We just keep bringing up the old school, new school thing. Or, Jeremy. I was writing Jeremy's name down. Savage is old school. So he's more worried about the living conditions than the alliances. That's just how it is. That's how he thinks. He just wants to be living comfortably and then worry about the alliances afterwards.
Yeah, that is so true. And it didn't even cross our minds because we think probably in new school terms, with numbers and everything. Why were you writing Jeremy's name down? I
was just writing down Jeremy I'm writing down his what alliances I think might actually happen post merge. I'm just trying to think about it. I'm listening to you.
You're doing this right now, while we're.
I'm just writing
talking?
it down, man. Oh God, I'm listening to you. I'm just you get boring after a while, so I start to zone out.
Okay, well then you talk. What's our next topic here?
No, you're good. Well, I this whole Savage thing. Well, Savage. I want to talk about Savage's confessionals tonight, not from your standpoint of he's pumped to be leaving, but he's also he thought he was solid. Everything he said tonight was, I can't go home, I can't go home, I can't go home, I can't go home. I'm going to be here a while. I'm so excited. This is the best thing ever. Why are we getting that from Savage if Savage isn't the one who goes home and he doesn't end up on top of the numbers? Why do you think we got so much of that from him tonight? We got a little bit from Wu tonight, and it was along the same lines as what Savage said, but why do we get so much from Savage doing this?
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was writing Jeremy's name down.
Yeah, you don't know how to spell Jeremy, so go ahead.
Savage, I think this is just setting up for his downfall. It's just to show, look, these new school players aren't here to mess around. And he said this, I'm not messing around. I mean business. But the new school players are bringing that even more. And it appears the new school players are dominating the season. What old school player that is still in this game that has any control or power? And granted, there weren't that many to start, but Savage isn't in a very good position. Wigglesworth isn't in a very good position. Kimmy, I guess, is doing okay, but she probably would have been on the block if they had gone to tribal council.
And this is kind of why I wanted to see Terry stick around a little bit longer, because out of Wigglesworth, Kimmy, Savage, and Terry, and I'm not really going to include Steven as that much of an old schooler, but Terry could have still won this game. I think people liked Terry enough, and he was getting a pretty decent edit. Yeah, he didn't have the numbers, but with how many times this game has changed, he wouldn't have needed the numbers. Takeo was never going, and he might have ended up getting with Savage or something. We just never know. That's kind of why I wanted him to stay around a little bit longer, because this is actually what I was writing down. there are 9 people left from season 25 or later. Like, so New School has completely dominated this season. Steven, season 18, and then we only have 3 people left from pre-All-Stars. Like that, I mean, with what we started with to what we have now, it really is in favor of New School.
Yeah, that's true. And I also think it's just we started with so many New School players. I mean, who do we have? We had Varner, Terry, and PG that have gone. That's pretty much it, right? So it's not like we lost.
And I guess Monica, maybe, if you wanted to count her, because she was pretty good.
But she wasn't. She was a New School player. I mean, you can tell by the way she got voted out. She was trying to stir too much trouble. Okay, let's. So I guess the whole thing. We'll talk about this briefly. At Takeo, they quickly say we want Spencer gone. So at this point, I'm thinking this definitely isn't going to happen. Spencer's safe. Is that what you were thinking too?
I was thinking Spencer is safe, Savage is gone when we went to Bayan. And I was like, well, we know Takeo's going. But then we actually went to Bayan. And they actually showed some insight into strategizing at Bayan.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on, this is a scene I didn't really think much of on watching it. I watched the West Coast or the East Coast feed, and then I kind of had it on the background during the West Coast feed out here. The whole Kimmy Keith interaction, how they put like meat on a stick, and Keith's like, "Don't drop it, don't burn it," and then Kimmy sticks the stick in the fire. She drops it and it burns. Like it was so quick, and then they pan over to Wentworth, kind of like, and Joe, and I don't know. What did you make anything of this? I mean, they included it for a reason.
I don't think that Keith was mad at her, and I don't think Kimmy reacted bad. I think they were kind of messing with each other a little bit because it was like, oh, of course you dropped it, like almost like sarcastic, like it wasn't that big of a deal. But I don't really know.
Do you think it was trying to show like the camaraderie amongst the original Bayan, and then they show Kelly and Joe says, Kelly, you're gonna have a lot of work to do.
Maybe.
That look, everyone here knows each other. Keith and Kimmy weren't on the same tribes for the last however many days, 9 days, 12 days. But look, they're joking around. I didn't see any like animosity or anger from either of them. I think it was kind of like, he was just giving her a hard time.
Yeah, I think they were just busting each other a little bit. I don't know really what it was, but yeah, I mean, I do think that they were trying to show that. Was Kelly Wentworth actually going to be the one voted out? Do you think that if they would have lost, Kelly Wentworth would have been the one that everybody brought up? Because I don't think she would have.
I don't think so. I think it's too easy.
Yeah. I think they would have actually voted Kimmy out had it come to that. I think they really would have. Yeah,
but Steven is so hard on Joe right now. He is just wants Joe out of here. This is why I don't want to merge yet. I would have loved to see this new Bayan go to Tribal Council. It's kind of a shame because there was a lot going on there.
There was a lot going on there, and it's a shame that we're not going to get to see it. But I guess what they wanted to have happen by the time they hit this merge was they didn't really want any alliances. They kind of wanted everybody to be a little bit of a wild card where, like, there could be alliances, but they wanted enough mix-ups and short-term, like, vote-outs and stuff where it was like, man, how do I react to this? I don't even know how to react to it because now they're bringing up the merge. So I'm pretty excited, actually, that we're getting to the merge here. I do think it's too early, but I am excited to see all these people play individually because – I think Savage is in line to be the merge boot, but like nobody has like an 8-4 advantage here or anything like that. Like I don't feel like there's any like huge alliance right now that is set in stone.
Yeah, I don't think there's a huge alliance either. But if you're trying to keep that from happening, like a big group of people coming together and pagonging, merging at 13, I feel like it gives that chance to happen. Because let's say it's a 7-6 vote next week. And then it's 7-5, and then, I don't know. It's probably going to be dynamic. I hope it is. We have 2 idols in people's hands already. They're probably going to introduce a merge idol, or at least I'd hope so. So things can get crazy there. Let's talk about. Joe had a confessional, a very strategic confessional. Again, this is back-to-back weeks with Joe. He was saying he wants to keep that 5 tight. That's his priority. Above Bayan, it seemed. Is that what you picked up too?
Yeah, I did. And I think that Joe wants to keep that 5 tight above Bayan because he knows the 5 better than he knows the original Bayan. And I think that he's more confident in that 5 being loyal to him to make sure that they don't vote him out just because he's a threat, as opposed to the original Bayan, which has Steven. And I think Joe's not dumb and knows that somebody like Steven wants to get rid of somebody like Joe.
Yeah, I wish they would team up, though. That would be so cool. That's not going to happen. let's
Which we
talk
heard
about
from in that confessional. Go. That's a perfect segue.
Let's
Go.
talk about this. I mean, I don't know why you just want me to go. I think this bodes very, very well for Steven and his edit. I know it was a breakdown, and I mean, it shows how much he loves the game and how much he cares. And also, it brings up the very, very important notion of changing the way you played last time. He says, last time I never got the golden boy out. The golden boy beat me. This time I need to get the golden boy out. It's a huge move. It would change the trajectory of this game. He's breaking down. You can tell he just has so much passion. I think this is because if you think about it, Steven's only been to one tribal council. He hasn't had a big opportunity, to come alive. And this is the biggest part, I think, is that he kind of says, look, I do suck at challenges. I know this. And this whole season, they've been showing Steven as this klutz who doesn't know how to do anything right. He's hitting the wrong targets. He can't throw his ring. He has no confidence in himself. And he says, no, look, this game is not about challenges. This is about strategy and numbers. Here I'm bringing it. This would be the biggest move. It's such a big move. It's bringing him to tears. I think this was great from Steven. He is now up in the contender. I mean, he can win now.
So if you had to do the 5-5-5, who would you put Steven above? Would you still put him? Would you put him in top 5 contender to win the game? You would put him above Cass or Tasha or Jeremy or Wentworth?
Maybe just from seeing the previews of next week, I would put him above Cass. But I still like Cass. I probably have him at 6 right now. I think Jeremy, Spencer, Wentworth, Tasha are ahead of everybody else, except Tasha's kind of fallen off a little bit. So I don't know. Well, I would love for Steven to pull out a win because this is the redemption arc starting. That who cares about challenges? And he's right. He's still in the game. And he said it to the merge where being a physical threat is actually, not being a physical threat is actually a good thing. It works for you. So I think he's in a great spot.
Dude, this confessional broke my heart from Steven, man. It made me so sad. I felt so bad for him during this, how he just couldn't even speak. And like you said, this is why this season has been so great so far. And I am saying that this season has been great. I don't know what it's going to be like post-merge, but this pre-merge has been great. And I think why this season is so great is because everybody cares. And too many times, and we loved her, but you get people like Jen who are like, well, I can't do anything. Just vote me off. I want to go home. You get that too many times, and here's a guy, a grown man, who can't even put a sentence together because he's so emotional over the fact that he failed last time at getting rid of the golden boy, and now he needs to do this. He needs to do this. And it broke my damn heart that he's sitting there and he couldn't even make a noise. I wanted to go up there and just give him a hug and be like, Steven, it's okay. Take your time. Let it out. Go. And I've been hard on Steven this season. I haven't bought into the redemption arc like you have. I hope he gets the redemption arc. Steven in Tocantins was a fantastic character. Should have been brought back way before now. And I am so happy that he finally got this moment where it was finally something from this guy that wasn't him just being a doofus. And I'm so happy for that. Yeah, people might be like, oh, him crying. Oh, he's still just a little baby, little nerdy guy. No, this was real life emotion here. And that was this whole episode. It was real emotion the entire time. From Terry's son to Steven doing this to just the emotion of Abby wanting to get rid of Wu more than Savage. This was just an emotion episode, and that's why it works so well.
Yeah, what was more sad, Steven's confessional or Terry?
I mean, Terry's son was actually life-threatening, but we didn't get to see as much from Terry as we did from Steven. I mean, Steven was like the helpless puppy where it's give money to this dog foundation because they're starving. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like. It was just being rammed down our throat that he was helpless, and he just wants to change so bad.
It took him so long after the first, he said his comment about I need to do this, and then there was a probably 30-second gap where there were no words coming out of his mouth. And he was embarrassed that he was breaking down. Intense. I think this bodes very well.
Oh yeah, I think so too. My roommate goes to me, every one of his neuroses was popping out right there. It was don't cry on camera. And then it was don't get worked up about crying on camera. Get it together. He was just being so neurotic there. It was don't break down, don't break down, don't break down. And then as he's trying to say, I'm not going to break down, he's losing it even more. That was seriously, that might have been the highlight of the episode. Really, that might have been the highlight of the season.
The highlight of the season.
It might really be. It really might.
Especially, I think this means something. I think Steven takes down Joe. I
think he
really
takes
do.
down Savage and Joe. I think he's going to get rid of all the big guys. I don't think he's going to get rid of Jeremy. I think Jeremy's going to win this game. But I think he's going to take them both down.
Let's talk about Jeremy's confessional because Steven goes up. He's talking to Kimmy, I think. Is he? He's talking to Tasha, I know. He's talking to Jeremy. So he's trying to throw Joe under the bus hard. People seem not to be really into it. Maybe it's because they're still in the tribal stages and Wentworth is such an easy target. Next week, I think people will be much more open to the idea of getting Joe out. But Jeremy just has a killer confessional. I think this is the first time anyone has said the word shield in regards to being an actual game, like strategy, like not a physical shield. Like, I'm using this person as a shield so that come the merge and down the game, they're going to target him and not me. Do you think is that the first time?
I think it's the first time, but I mean, this was fantastic from Jeremy. Like, this is exactly what Mike didn't do last season. When Mike was like, I want to get rid of Joe and then I'll just win all the immunities. Jeremy's like, I want to keep Joe so I don't have to win all the immunities. I think this is like a perfect strategy from Jeremy, but is it going to work? Do you think it's going to work? And Joe's the perfect shield. I mean, no, Kelly Wentworth said it tonight too. She said, I'm going to piggyback off of Joe as long as I can. I'll just be behind him, looking over his shoulder the whole time. I think she might have even used the word shield. I think they both did tonight.
I don't think Kelly did. I thought I got the vibe from Kelly's confessional that it was more, I'm going to, hide behind him in this new Bion tribe. Like, for the time being at this beach, I'm the only Takeo. I need to use Joe the best of my abilities and get to the merge. I don't think she was talking necessarily long term. I may be wrong.
Jeremy is talking long term. I think Kelly said something very similar to what Jeremy said, where it's like, Joe, I think she said, if Joe's going to try to work for me, then I'll let him and I'll just be behind him. Like, yeah, do this, But it's great to see that so many people are using Joe, but Joe's also actually playing the game as opposed to last season when Joe was just trying to win immunity. So this is fun. Like, this is really fun. Both of these tribes were fun. It's like you said, it's a shame that they only did it for one episode.
It really is. And this has been my favorite episode of the season by far. Anything else pre-challenge?
I don't believe so. We can go to the challenge.
All right. And just to let people know who are listening, make sure to comment your questions so that we can answer them, or comments or questions. We'll read them because I don't think we have too many.
And we have a lot right now. But sorry to everybody from last time. We didn't end up reading all the comments. We're not going to, because that would just make this episode 6 hours long. But we didn't actually read all the comments. We did cut it short. Somebody had sent that to me. So if you remember your question from that time, just type it up now if it's still relevant. We'll answer it because we're going to be going for a little while here. But yeah, let's go to the gross food challenge because this was fun because everybody likes a gross food challenge.
I was so worried that we did our whole power rankings wrong. I mean, once in the prediction episode, you said at the end of it, after the whole thing was done, you're like, oh, it's a food challenge. I'm like, what? Then physical strength really doesn't matter all that much. Bion Tribe has Kimmy, who is just going to ruin things. So I was thinking one of our, top 7, or at least for me, I put all of Bion in the top 7 just because I thought they'd win. They do end up winning. I don't know. Not much to talk about here. I mean, the fried frog, deep fried frog, sign me up. I mean, I've had frog legs. They're tasty.
Yeah, it tastes good. Exactly.
This is we get the question a lot, like, have you guys applied for Survivor? Would you be on Survivor? I would love to be on Survivor. This is something that would take, this is my biggest fear on Survivor. I could deal with the rain. I can deal with being hungry. But, having to eat gross food and, if you don't, you could go to tribal and it could be all your fault. And I'm not that, physically strong. I'm I have some hand-eye coordination. I'm more of, a Keith rather than, a Jeremy. Man, I don't know. To eat a tarantula, oh, my God. It's juicy and it's, it's guts. Could you do this, Phil?
I don't think I could do the tarantula. See, my whole thing is if I ever got one of these challenges, I would just want to swallow it. That's always the best strategy. Just put it in your mouth, swallow it. The problem – yeah, funny. Okay, good.
Do what Wu did. I was going to do what Wu did. That's exactly what Wu did.
That's what you have to do. With the tarantula, you can't do that. And that's the problem, man.
And it has the legs.
I know, dude. I know. I've eaten some pretty gross things, so I don't know.
I've eaten a bug just to prove that I can do it.
Exactly.
They're Will, you love Survivor. I'll pay you $30 to eat a bug. I'm like, yeah, I love Survivor. Sure, I want $30.
Yeah. Will you lick that white dog shit?
No, that's different.
Oh,
These are
okay.
we have to remember these are Cambodian delicacies, which I
know.
kind of say BS to every season.
Oh yeah, it is complete. This was a Cambodian delicacy in like 1800 when they didn't have like the proper like technique to kill things. Like that's what I'm pretty much getting here. Like the Marquesas one where they eat like that fish thing. Like people don't do that anymore. Like let's be real.
It seems like they eat balut just all over the world.
Everywhere.
It's just like a world delicacy.
Well, Cambodia is okay. Maybe I'm stupid, but I think Cambodia is by China. So
I mean, it's south, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's in Asia.
yeah. Because that's all I could think about was Denise not being able to eat the damn balut while James was trying to hand her the challenge, and she's like screaming at it and couldn't eat it. But what I wanted to, yeah, exactly. What I wanted to point out in this though, I know I was sitting here and I was like, why would they put up Cass at the end? Why did Savage not go twice? I think what ended up happening with this challenge, and I'm just like pointing this out just to point it out, I think this probably was played to about 7 or 8. I really do, not 4. But I think in terms of time, Jeff said, oh, we're playing a 4 like in post. And then what ends up happening is they sit down and they pick out, they do the last one, obviously, because that's going to be the one that determines it all. But I know like in Heroes versus Villains, when they did the bag competition, supposedly like the heroes won like 10-1 or something, but they like showed like where it looked like it was like more even than it was. Like, so I feel like they try to do it, entertaining, and they have to shorten up the challenge a little bit because I don't think that they would have put up Cass as the last person to go when Savage only went once.
Yeah, were they choosing people to go, or was Jeff just kind of like calling them out? Because sometimes that happens where he goes, the next matchup is,
I don't
Kelly
think that's
versus
how it goes though, because in the tribe challenge he normally doesn't. In the tribe setting he normally doesn't do that. He'll do like male versus male or female versus female or this versus that. But in this one it was a pair, a pair, a pair, and then it was like you would think that if you had to put up another female, you're not going to put up Cass. Like I don't know. You obviously Sierra couldn't get it done, but like I just don't think you end up putting up Cass. You put up Wigglesworth. Did Wigglesworth go twice or did she only go once?
See, I see what you're saying, but I don't know if they're choosing. I think Jeff might have an order. Like if your turn is up, you don't get to say, no, I'd rather have Savage. I don't know if that's allowed.
But what I'm saying is though, they would do it in the order and they would know what the order would turn out to be. Like if they did the pair and it was like whoever goes in the first pair, they're going to be the first 2 individuals to go. You would make sure that Savage was going again instead of Cass. Like that's what I'm saying. Like Sierra ended up going twice, but
what if Jeff decides the pairs? Like for TV purposes.
I think that would be like rigging almost. Like I don't think that they do that because I think that would be like rigging.
Or maybe they started out randomly and then just cycle through.
That's maybe. I'm just saying I think there were more rounds to this than we actually saw. That's
okay, yeah, that makes sense. I thought the pair thing was kind of weird. Like
I liked it though.
I liked it too, but it was kind of arbitrary when they switched it to individual. He was just like, all right, now we're going to individual. It's like, when did you say that? I didn't know the rules were changing. So I agree with you. There are some kind of rules going on. I love the Jeremy Savage like high five, even though they're on opposite tribes. Mm-hmm. That was a great moment.
They were so pumped that they ate the damn thing. Like that was fantastic. I agree. That was awesome. Yeah. And what did we get from this?
We have a scorpion.
Yeah. And Sierra couldn't eat it.
And Mike would be very happy about the scorpion making appearance. Jeremy walking out the end and eating the balut that was in Cass's mouth.
Funny, dude. That was like what Cass puked up. Like, what are you doing?
She put it in her mouth, chewed it, and then threw it up or spit it out at least. And then Jeremy walks by and takes a bite and smiles. I love Jeremy. He's MVP.
In 16 days.
He's MVP. He's got to be. I mean, he was.
No, Cass is MVP. I think Cass is the easy MVP.
You just said that you think Cass messed up in voting
because
out.
Of the preview. I do think she messed up, but she also made sure. Then I don't know.
You can't argue for MVP.
Oh, you know what? No, Sierra would be MVP. She got rid of Will.
You mean Abby?
I don't know who MVP is. I don't know who MVP is.
It's Jeremy because he's got a great strategy. He's keeping everyone in lock. He's providing funny moments and entertainment. He's getting Steven to have self-confidence. I mean, Jeremy did it all. And if we're going to give MVPs to the people that aren't going to tribal, just because we don't want to give it to the person that goes to tribal every time. I know we gave it to Wu last week. Jeremy's the perfect candidate for MVP this week. I'm going all Jeremy. I ask you to vote for him. We can nominate some other people too later, but great stuff from Jeremy. Anything else on the immunity challenge?
Now let's go past the immunity because we have a lot of comments. So this is gonna be a long one. So go into the post everything where we get to hear from Sierra, but we don't get to hear from Abby Maria finally voting out her nemesis.
Well, this is pretty simple. I mean, they had this whole Spencer vote ready to go. Spencer thinks we never really saw Spencer really. I mean, I guess we saw the Savage scene, but before that, we didn't really know what he thought his numbers were. Like, yeah, Savage, she seems cool. That we didn't get any more than that. Do you think Sierra has like a right to be pissed that her name's being thrown around, or is it kind of like Sarah? They have to say someone's name. You're like the weakest in challenges, and you're a pretty threatening player. It actually would make sense if we tell another name to Spencer. He might not believe it. So I thought Sierra should just kind of roll with it.
I think what Sierra was most mad about is that it wasn't Wu or Abby, because Wu or Abby weren't buy-on originally. And I think that's what made her the most mad, was that Savage was saying, Sierra, we'll just throw your name under the bus. But I think her whole thing was, well, if you're throwing my name out there, why wouldn't you just throw Wu or Abby out there to Spencer? Because Spencer's going to believe that. Obviously, you don't throw Abby out there because Abby would flip shit and go crazy. But that's pretty much what Sierra did anyway. So maybe he should have thrown Wu's name out there, and I think Sierra would have felt a lot more comfortable.
And Sierra flipped the shit in the right way. Abby should learn from this. If you're going to get mad, Sierra's first instinct, the first thing she says to Savage after her confessional is, I trust you, I trust you. Like, she's putting on the face. She's acting for him. And in the back of her head is like, wow, this asshole is throwing my name out there. He's got to go.
Yeah, and my favorite part of this whole post-merch or post-immunity challenge thing was when Spencer and Cass are walking down the beach, and Cass lets Spencer know that Savage is bringing Spencer's name up, because Spencer has to be sitting there going, do I believe Cass? Do I not believe Cass? There's no way. Really, Savage, after like talking to me, all this stuff. Spencer had to have had a million different thoughts going through his head. And then on top of that, he doesn't even realize Abby and Sierra are the ones who are really going to bat for him right now, because they want to get rid of Wu just to spite Savage.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we'd get a little bit more from Spencer on this. Like, can I trust Cass? Can I? I mean, he said one thing, if it's true. But if you're Spencer, you got to be going, oh, shit. I get to the beach. I meet my best friend, Savage. I want to play with him. And then Cass says, let me talk to you for a sec. Oh, yeah, your best friend, like, he wants to vote you out. And you're like, how? Like, Cass is such a manipulative player. How do you even begin to start processing that? I mean, he obviously made the right choice. He said, all right, yeah, I'm going to believe Cass. I'm going to die, or I'm going to, sleep with the devil, or whatever he said.
Bunk with the devil. He's not sleeping with Cass. He's bunking with
her.
He wouldn't even say sleep with her. He'd just bunking with her. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought that we would have heard a little bit more from, like what you said, like with Spencer. But, man, I really thought that when they came back, it was just so random to throw Wu's name out there without giving a little bit from Abby Maria. Because for them to just be like, yeah, well, let's get rid of Wu, I was like, I really thought it was going to be between Savage and Spencer, and Savage was gone. So I was a little surprised Wu's name came up. Once Wu's name came up, I was like, you know what, Cass? You're going to get rid of Wu just because you think it's funny at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see it, but supposedly it was just all Abby and Maria being stubborn. Yeah. So Abby, again, gets her way. Do you think any of this kind of Sierra getting mad and Cass getting mad that Savage is the one taking control, do you think this has anything to do with the fact that Sierra and Cass were on that Takeo beach for so long, and like they feel like this is their home, this is their shelter, and Savage is kind of coming in. He's the new guy, and now he's calling shots. We all do this. This is what we tell Spencer this, but we really vote this way. And he really stepped in as the leader of like the Bion Alliance.
Yeah, that might have rubbed them the wrong way. I mean, and I also think that Cass and Sierra are very strong-minded female people, and you don't want to be told what to do just because this guy has abs and a beard. Like, I think that's really what it came down to. I think they were just kind of annoyed that Savage thinks that he's just in control of everything when Savage doesn't even really have the numbers, and I don't know, man. I think there was more to it than Sierra just having her name thrown out there. I think there was more to it than that.
Yeah, I think it's the whole presence that he carries with himself, that I am the man, I am the leader, I will tell you what to do, and I'm going to get things done. But if you are Sierra, like if I'm there in Sierra's position, they say, Will, we're going to tell Spencer we're voting for you. It does make you go, okay, why'd you jump to me so quickly? Like subconsciously, my name is the next, in your mind. So I think it's warranted.
It makes you feel like you're the least valued, and it really she didn't. It's not like Spencer just hated Sierra and that was the reason, why not say, hey, we'll tell Spencer we're voting off Cass? Why not do that? You know, like, because that's more believable. At least then Spencer's like, good, I'm getting rid of Cass. Like, he doesn't have anything against Sierra.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm trying to debate whether Sierra is this, is it warranted? I think it's okay to feel a little like, oh man, this isn't good for me. I know where Savage lies, but you don't necessarily need to act on it. And I think that's her mistake. I think you have to take Spencer out here. I really do.
I really do too.
I understand that Wu has like connections, but if you think about that alliance, they're just not threatening. I mean, he was good with Terry, and then Terry's out. Abby and Wu are not together, so he pretty much has Savage and Tasha, and I guess Wigglesworth, but who knows where her head is at. So if anything, he's got 4 out of 14 remaining players. So I don't think you have to worry much about Wu. Spencer is like, it's kind of threatening that he doesn't have anybody, because those are the players that become swing votes and that can gain
power. He never had anybody in Cagayan ever. And he made it to 4th place. He never had anybody ever the entire game. And he gets 4th place.
Yeah, and his game is shaping up it's becoming a very similar game. The only thing with Spencer, though, they keep trying to build him up as like this great player, but both of these times that someone else saved him. Shireen saved Spencer when Shireen tried to flip it on Varner, and then Cass single-handedly saved Spencer tonight. Not only when she took him aside and said, this is what's going on, even right before Tribal, she says, look, I could still vote for Spencer, even if I wanted to. I can go either way. I have all the power. So I think Cass is pretty impressive, but I think keeping Spencer is just it's a bonehead move. He's too good. Yeah, like Savage said. I would like to know
what Cass's reasoning was to keep Spencer instead of Wu. I know that Abby was obviously going to vote Wu, but I would like to know what her reasoning was. Maybe she thought there was more of a long-term thing with Abby. I know she also is really tight with Sierra out there. I mean, I think we've gotten that from as little as we've gotten from Sierra. I think we have gotten that Cass and Sierra are tight. So maybe she just wanted to stay loyal to Sierra, who wasn't going to vote for Spencer.
I think that's it. I think Abby really wanted Wu, and so Sierra and Cass are like, yeah, I'm on board. And then for Cass to flip to vote for Spencer, she would have to then, that would make her a flipper on Sierra. She didn't want to do that. Except the whole episode, Cass kept saying it'd be great to get Spencer out first. Spencer, 0% chance of winning the game. Like all this stuff. So it was a little bit confusing.
And I think that Cass just remembers flippers never win. I think that's really what it came down to.
Big Dan the man, letting it be known. Nothing really that big at Tribal.
No. I kind of knew it was Wu as soon as they brought his name up, so I was expecting it.
It was a great episode, but it was very obviously going to be Wu, except a Spencer blindside here would have been like just the right up. Like it would have been such a shocking blindside because they built him up so much. I don't want Spencer to be gone, but I would love a blindside like that this season where you're heading in. I mean, I know Wu got blindsided, but you're heading into the vote and you think it's going to be one person so badly, and it ends up not being them. Hopefully we have that somewhere down the line this season, because that's always the best moment of Survivor, where the vote is revealed and you go, no way. I mean, the last time
Jeremy goes in San Juan del Sur, your jaw hits the floor because you're like, there's no way that just happened. Like that didn't just happen.
I think the most surprising thing in recent memory is the Wu Cass Tony vote, where Wu votes out Cass. I mean, that
he spelled Tony wrong.
Yeah, like that was unbelievable. So I want more moments like that. They included Savage saying, "You're too good at this game, Spencer. You're too good at this game." So they continue to build up Spencer. He very well might be the winner. Okay.
He really might.
Anything else before we get to comments?
Well, we're about to get to comments, but there's one thing that I wanted to bring up now that we've hit the merge here. This season reminds me so much of Gabon. And this season, and they need to do more stuff like this. I know Gabon is like one of your favorites. I have it a little bit lower in my thing, but definitely a top 10 season. The thing with this season and Gabon, the more you mix it up, it's just so much more entertaining for the viewers. And it makes sure that the people who are playing the game stay around longer than the people who aren't. And I'm not saying Wu wasn't playing the game, and I'm not saying Monica wasn't playing the game, but it makes people have to play. This is something we've had. We're about to have we had tribes to start. Then we had our second tribes, third tribes, and now we're going to have the merge. That's like 4 different tribes that these people are going to be on in the matter of like 16 days. You have to play the game then. And I think that this is a really smart move by Survivor. Merge is a little too soon, but it worked in Gabon and it's working here. like just the more you can keep them on the toes, the more you can shift power. Yeah, it screws over people who are playing and have like really good numbers and stuff. Play the game harder. Get in a better spot. Jeremy's still in a good spot, and he's been in a good spot since day one.
I do hear what you're saying, and it is, super entertaining. But there is a high risk that someone gets completely screwed over. Like, it's totally possible. And I know it's just play out of it. But, sometimes you get screwed.
Savage, got screwed the hardest out of anybody who's ever been screwed in Survivor. And Pearl Islands is normally considered the best season of the show. You got to take the big chances, man. Like, even with a huge mistake where somebody gets royally screwed, you can still have a great season because everything else in Pearl Islands was so good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just about one moment in a show. Yeah, you sit there and you go, wow, he got screwed. But in Gabon, Marcus got screwed. But it was fantastic.
But Marcus didn't do a good job of, like, keeping Susie. He didn't do a good job of keeping Susie, like, keeping her trust. And, like, that really was his fault. So I know that was another quick swap and everything. Is it possible that we go to a merge at 13 and then at, like, 12 they're going to go 2 tribes of 6, or like at 10 they go 2 tribes of 5? Yeah. I was briefly in Fiji. I mean,
yeah, I know.
I doubt it happens because Survivor does love the post-merge game. It's individual. Everyone's out for each other. I just would have liked to see, these tribes stick around. What I was telling Phil earlier was I would love to see next week they go down from 13 to 11. They do like a double boot episode, just like 2 immunity challenges, like one in the first half hour, one in the second. See, those tribes go to tribal. And then next week you merge at 11. So you're still had an odd number. I think 11's perfect for the merge. Either way, though, the merge is fun, so I'm excited.
It's not going to be bad. Like, this is going to be fun. We get to see all of these characters interact now. We're going to get everybody's going to be going crazy to start. Let's go into some comments, though, because we're probably answering half these questions. Anyway, I'm going to start with Twitter. Glambert Girl 888, do you guys think – I actually answered this on Twitter, but we should probably discuss it so it's not just my opinion. Do you guys think that a player can win if they play more with an old school mentality, or can only the new schoolers win?
I don't know. I feel like you got to play new school because we're in the new school age. You can't think, oh, I worked hard at camp, so they're not going to vote me out. I'm strong in challenges. They're not going to vote me out. I'm too valuable to this tribe. That's not how it works anymore. You have to make sure you have numbers. You have to look for idols. So I think no. And that doesn't mean an old school player can't learn the new style. I think Varner did a great job of that. I just don't think if you stick to just being strictly old school, like Wigglesworth, like what she's doing is not going to win her the game.
Yeah.
People don't respect it anymore. People say, like, because Jeff has hammered it into our heads because it makes great television, you have to make big moves to win this game. And the old school thinking is not to make big moves.
Yeah, and I think really what it comes down to here is, like, with this whole old school, new school thing, it depends on what you define as old school. Because I kind of look at Jeremy as an old school type where he keeps the strength around, although he's doing it for his new school reasons. He's really big on relationships, but he's also always thinking of the numbers and when can I get rid of this big threat? When can I do this? So I think Jeremy is like the perfect mix of old school and new school, where he knows how to play an old school type game, but he also is thinking about where can I get this idol? Where can I do this? So I don't think he's completely new school, even though he played season 29. I think he has a lot of old school tendencies. So I think it could go either way. It just depends on, nobody like Wigglesworth or like even Richard Hatch isn't an old school player. He had his alliance, but I mean, he was still willing to like go out there and just be a dick. Like, I think that it really depends. Like, somebody like Wigglesworth, never going to win the game again. But, somebody who can mesh a little bit.
Yeah, you have to adapt. You really have to adapt if you want to, if you want to win in a season like this. The idols are going to come out and they're going to look different, and there's going to be a lot of gamesmanship that goes on with all of these idols. There's 13 people at the merge, so many minds to kind of keep track of, motivations, all that stuff. And I think that's the new school mentality. And if you don't, adapt, if you don't change the way you played the first time, you're going to go home.
Yeah, it's true. 55 Mellow 55, who got us a new viewer because her roommate likes Survivor and she made her watch Phil and Will. So thank you for that. And she says she's going to keep showing her med school friends who like Survivor. Look at us, man. We have. I
can't believe someone has that many friends who like Survivor. I just don't know that many people who like Survivor. I mean, I know you. What's that?
I surprisingly do. Steve watches it.
Yeah, no, I know Steve. That's it though. I mean, I don't know that many
I
people.
actually
I
know
would.
like a lot.
Do they watch or listen?
Some of them do every now and then, but not really. It's my friends. They don't want to hear me talk half the time. But this Mello, what she says is, who do you think? Oh wait, no, I don't want to do those because those two are just going to be irrelevant now because we know they're merging. But why do you think Jeremy's been able to avoid getting a target on his back since he seems to be the leader on the tribes he's on?
Well, I think most of it is he's only had to go to one tribal. So, and I also think he does a really good job at keeping people comfortable. Like, we're good, we're good. I think he listens to what other people have to say, and he'll kind of roll with what the alliance wants to do. But he's in the back, like keeping everyone tight and unified.
Yeah, I think it's because he's never the biggest threat. Joe's always there. So as long as he always has somebody who's a bigger threat, I mean.
But Joe wasn't there on New Bayon.
That's true. They weren't on New Bayon, but he had a really good way of talking to Kimmy and Steven to make them both feel really comfortable. I think he's really good at building relationships. He just seems like a really good guy.
He is. He's just a fun, good guy. I'm a big Jeremy fan.
I'm so much happier with him this season than I was in San Juan del Sur. Billy the Kid 2460. Has anyone not cried this season for the prop bet game? We'd have to look into that. But if you didn't get the crying prop bet points, man, you got to be hurt.
I didn't. I had PG. PG never cried, which I thought was a slam dunk.
Yeah. Glamber Girl 888. Looks like we may get a second chance arc for Steve for Fishback. After all, he's playing hard. I can't believe they're already going down to the final one tribe next week. Second chance is full of twists and turns. And then finally a question of, do you think Cass can really go far in the game if she becomes Chaos Cass again, as the preview suggests?
I do, because I think people respect the big moves these days. Like, if you vote someone out and you you betray your word and you lie to them, people are way more likely to tip your cap and say, you know what, you got me. Like, well played. Not like in prior seasons, they go, like, give you like a death stare and they're angry with you. I mean, everyone who's been blindsided this this season is kind of going, oh man, they got me. Like, it's expected to play hard. Yeah, I mean,
Will was pumped.
Yeah, he's like, wow, they got me. I think people are kind of expecting people to play hard. So as long as Chaos Cass isn't like just a bitch about it on purpose, like do your game moves and just don't be a nuisance to live with, and don't start stuff at camp. Keep your friendly personality, and if you're going to betray someone, betray them with your vote, not by like starting a fight. And I think that
was the problem with Chaos Cass and Kagayana. She was a bitch. Now Chaos Cass can just be a strategist, and nobody's going to fault you for that because we saw Tony win the game by being a strategist. So, yeah, I think she can be fine as Chaos Cass as long as she isn't a bitch.
Which still could be tough. I mean, she's done well so far. Yeah, she made Kelly the birthday present. I'm excited to see her, really, really start to play though. Can't wait.
Yeah, and then Mello again said, do you think Survivor will have this many tribe swaps in one season and any of their future seasons? Not next season, but I think down the line we are going to see a lot of this. I think they're going to try to mix it up as much as they possibly can, especially since this has been successful so far.
Yeah, next season it's likely to be a 3-tribe start, Brains, Bronze versus Beauty, and then go down to 2, and then go down to 1.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think after that we might start to see more of this again. I mean, here we go. Glamber Girl 888. Any ideas for how the alliances will shake up next week when they go down to one tribe already? I really don't know.
I think we should save this for our prediction episode just because we really have to look at everything. And I think, we will get to your comment, but I think we have a lot of questions and comments to answer on tonight's episode.
Just from like a gut reaction, I think Savage is in a lot of trouble. And I think Joe is in a lot of trouble. Just because they're strong and because I think Savage has no numbers coming up.
Yeah, I think Spencer and Jeremy are in a good spot just because they're edits. But it would be great to see one of them. I mean, I like both of them a lot, but it would be kind of shocking and fun to really get blindsided and have one of them be the merge boot.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here.
Are we on Twitter still?
I'm still on Twitter. Are East Coasters allowed to post spoilers after the airing of the East Coast show? Yeah, you can post it. I log out of Twitter while it's on because I don't want to know. I log out right at 5 o'clock. I think Will watches it most of the time, so you're fine.
Yeah, it's our fault if we ever see, if you're online,
Chaos Cast favorited 2 of our tweets today. Sierra favorited a tweet today of ours. Look at us go, huh? Moving up in the world. We're really becoming somebodies. And then the last one on here, Tom Azenberg. I don't think anyone's winning the bag of prop bet this season. I mean, I think that's pretty much what we said. That's long done, man. That was a good idea, but it's screwed.
We have one more chance for it to happen. It's got to be next week. It'd be so great if Kimmy catches them too, because I put Kimmy in there, and if she's the one, like Jeff's like, your merge, and he tosses the bag, and can't wait.
All right, man. We got 41 comments on this video. We're going to do these 41 comments, and then everything after that we will keep track of for next week. So if you comment now, we're probably not going to get to it. Jim Beam.
We could. No, we might.
Maybe. I'm just trying to keep it in my head, like where we're at, so we don't miss them again. On our
let's roll through these. If we've already answered the question, we will.
We'll read you out loud, but
All right, Mark Dean. Start with Mark Dean. The Cass over Woo debate from the last recap came into play quicker than I expected. That's right. Who won that debate? Mark Dean. Will won the debate. Okay.
Now, if Cass doesn't win, though, did you really win the debate? Because neither of them had a damn chance to win.
I think Cass goes farther in the game than Woo.
Well, yeah. I mean, I could have sat there and said that, but I just thought Woo has a better chance to win. I mean, what happens if Cass sits there at the final 3 and doesn't get a single vote? Then Cass never had a chance to win. So screw you. Woo had a better chance. That's why they got rid of him before the merge.
I don't buy it. I think Cass is long.
I don't know.
Went for the game.
Jiu-Jitsu. Cass saved the episode from being the most depressing. If she voted Spencer, we would have lost him and Terry. Those are my 2 favorites this season. Who are yours? What do you think of the upcoming merge? Did you expect Cass, Spencer, Steven, Abby, Kimmy, and Joe to make the merge? No. Those were the 6 we mentioned. Maybe
Kimmy wasn't in there.
Yeah, Kimmy I thought would kind of slide by unless she was really weak. Sierra was the one who we had in there over Kimmy.
My favorites are Jeremy, Spencer, and Steven. I'm a male strategy guy, and those are like the male strategists on the show right now. And they're all fun characters. Jeremy's provided so much entertainment. The redemption arc is finally here from Steven. And then Spencer, he's like a 23-year-old kid, and, we relate to that.
I would say before this episode, it was probably Spencer, Wentworth, and Savage. After this episode, it's Steven, Jeremy, and Spencer, like you said. Wentworth's still in there. But sometimes when Wentworth gives a confessional, it annoys me a little bit. I don't know what it is about sometimes when she gives the confessionals, but there's sometimes where I'm like, I don't know how she meant to say that. Like, I don't know if that's exactly what she meant or if she didn't use the right tone. She doesn't give as interesting of confessionals as somebody like Jeremy, but I think that she gives better confessionals than like Spencer because she's like less awkward about it. She is fun. She's definitely if a girl's going to win this game, I want it to be Wentworth.
Right? Oh, I want it to be Cass. I forgot to say, I want Cass. I'm rooting for Cass and then Kelly Wentworth also.
My number 1 and 2 are Wigglesworth and Kimmy. Let's be honest. Those are the 2 I want to win, especially Wigglesworth. She's killing it out there. God, man. Has she been on this show since like episode 2?
Okay, let's no. The joke's over, Phil. All right, Jiu-Jitsu. And is this blue list on fire or what? We merged at 13. We only really lose Varner, PG, and Terry. I completely agree. We say it every week. This season's boot list is amazing. David Mullen, I feel they just didn't want to show another Abby-filled episode. That could very well be true, too.
But I don't think that's true.
It's just that she didn't blow up. And, who wants to hear her strategize? I think you made a really good point that they want to show her as, the one-dimensional villain. And so, for her to, have any kind of, level-headed thinking, it just doesn't, play into her character.
Yeah, I think that's spot on right there. Caleb Sutton, was a Cagayan Alliance ever possible, or were the hard feelings from that season too much to overcome from Second Chance Day 1? I think it was possible if all 4 of them started together, but I think once they didn't, I think they all had their own agendas. I don't think that they were specifically going after Woo. I really think Savage got saved tonight because Abby. Otherwise, I think Savage goes, and we somehow end up with all 4 Cagayan members making the merge. So, no, I think that it could have been possible. I don't think it was from day 1, but
it could still happen. There's still 3 of them left, so I'm not ruling that out yet.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, Tasha and Spencer can work together. I mean, Spencer and Cass work together tonight, so I think we still, we have to wait and see on that.
Giovanni Oriana has 4 of them in a row here. Number 1, do you think Terry will play again?
Yes.
I think it's a possibility. I think it's a big possibility. You say yes too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Do you think the 13-person merge will make things more chaotic?
Yeah, definitely. I just hope it's not too like random and all over the place. Look, it's going to be a great merge. It's like I'm not really disappointed they're merging. I'm just disappointed we didn't get to see because these two tribes, the way they had them, they were evenly matched and they had a lot of interesting things going on. So that's where the disappointment kind of comes from.
Which merge was it where like 6 people got votes?
And Borneo.
No, wasn't there one later than that, or was that the only one? I thought there was like another one where it was like just like a bunch of random alliances that it was like more recent.
Maybe Blood versus Water.
Was it Blood versus Water? I always forget Blood versus Water because the boot order is so much different than like what actually.
Because Redemption Island.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't remember, but I just remember like there was one. I mean, I hope that we get a lot of people voted for here, but I don't want to lose somebody like I don't want Jeremy to get voted off because he gets 3 votes. Just
and
because,
like everyone else gets like 1.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want that to happen. Should Sierra have targeted Andrew since he was the one that was talking about getting her votes? I think we talked about that enough. Yeah, definitely. But
they wanted to get Savage. It was all Abby.
Do you think? And then his last one is: do you think Steven will break down and get eliminated for trying to vote out Joe?
No, he's going to be successful in it. They're setting him up for success. He's back. The fish is back.
Wow, that's a bold statement there. Total Drama Survivor fan. What's Shireen's legacy of Survivor going to be? Sore loser.
Yeah, someone who thinks she's like some brilliant strategist when she really didn't do anything that impressive in her 2 seasons.
Yeah,
she'll never play again, and it's over.
Yeah, and we're not that upset by it. James Marshall. Wow, dude, I feel like we're like a real show here. We're just ripping through these. Look forward to your show every week. Finding myself more excited to listen to your podcast than Rob's. Great show, guys. It's because we can insult the survivors because we don't have like relationships with them, so it's okay.
Yeah, and no ads yet.
Yeah. Well, they show up at the beginning, like for 5 seconds. Sorry for making you guys suffer through some of those if you watch it, but
no, I mean we don't do any promotions like in the actual
we just
show.
Promote your writing for The Leftovers and The Affair and The Walking Dead. We promote ourselves.
I'll have to put those links in there. Thanks for reminding me.
No problem, man. I'm here for you. Total Drama Survivor fan. Isn't it weird that out of the finalists, Cagayan 4 and San Juan del Sur 3, only Wu was eliminated so far? Maybe all those minus Wu are working together. Thoughts?
Well, we do know that Kelly Wentworth and Keith are in a 5-person alliance. We do know that Spencer and Cass are the other night. They're not all working together just because it's just too many moving parts. But it is very cool because the San Juan del Sur people are delivering. And, of course, Cagayan is one of our favorite seasons. So it's nice to see, especially the 3 best of the 4 that were in this season. I mean, Wu was like the one. If you wanted one person to go out of the Cagayan 4, you want it to be Wu. And
I think this is a great point because at the beginning of the season, if I would have told you there were 7 people from all the seasons, you would have listed all 6 of the other people before we were getting voted off first. Like if you had to say who's going to get voted off first out of these 7, it would have been like Spencer, Cass, or it would have been Cass, Spencer, Jeremy, Tasha. You would have went right down the line, and Wu probably would have been the safest one to be voted off first, at least, out of that group.
Didn't you put Wu as your jury member?
Yeah, I did, and that screwed me hard. No, or merge. Was it merge or jury member?
No, we didn't have merge. It was jury member.
Jury member, yeah. So hopefully Tasha goes to the end and you don't get her on the jury.
No, Tasha will be a jury member. She is too big of a jury threat. I said it when I made the prop bet. I'm right on line with Tasha.
We'll see.
Mark Dean. When Jeff shows up on the beach, his shirt seems to be lighter than Terry's shirt, and Terry's shirt is very light blue. So I would guess Jeff's shirt is white. Well, thank you, Mark Dean. That is a great point.
We don't know if Mark Dean's colorblind, though.
I don't know. I find it hard to give points because maybe the reason he's not wearing blue is because he's visiting camp and he's not he wasn't ready to go be on camera. And I'm already getting the points for him visiting camp. I don't need to beat Phil by more than I already am. So I don't want to take the pity points. I want to beat you fair and square. But good looking out, Mark Dean. Catch the black shirts throughout the rest of the season for me because I never remember to look for it.
And I'm not looking anymore. I did it at the beginning, not for you anymore. James Marshall, what do you think happens to Savage now? Is there any chance he and Steven link up? I think Savage is done.
I think Steven is gonna be the Dragon Slayer of all the alphas. And Jeremy might be his final battle. And man,
he's gonna lose.
I think he is gonna lose because Jeremy is a big dragon right now.
Yeah. I don't think him and Savage link up. Harold Rice, I'm not quite sure what this means. Maybe you can help it. If you guys got to pick the cast of Survivor Cambodia, who from the 32 would you guys pick?
Oh, because there was 32 on the ballot.
I see. I guess he means if there was
So
anybody who you would have rather.
yeah, I'd probably take Wu out and I put Shane in, and I take I guess I take Vetus out and put Jim Rice in, just because I love Keith. I love Keith. I can't do it to him. And then from the female side, throw T-Bird in there and take out
Monica.
PG. No, Shireen. Shireen would be my first person to take out. And then I'd probably want to see Natalie Tanarelli, or not Tanarelli, Stephanie Valencia. She had fire in her. I would have loved to see her.
Stephanie Valencia was a fun character who had a good plan coming into her game. She just blew it. She was the first person to not be able to be one of Russell's little girls who makes it to the end. Which is a shame because she had the right plan. She had the right idea. She just did it 2 seasons too late.
Yeah, and I'd probably take out PG instead of, for Stephanie Valencia.
On the guy's side, Shane I wanted on, and then
Jim Rice.
Jim Rice, but wasn't there somebody else? Who else was?
Troy Zan.
I love Troy Zan. I know you hate him. I love Troy Zan.
I don't hate him. I just who overrated?
I forget who else was even on there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. With that one, I would definitely have liked to see Stephanie Valencia or T-Bird in, though. Especially T-Bird. I mean, that would have been like a good – she was an old school player who could have won the damn game. Level-headed, motherly, fun. Go.
Ezekiel Oldring. Is it strange that Abby and Cass didn't go prehistoric on each other? A fight between the two of them would be television gold. Varner would relish that. That can happen next week. We have 2 very, volatile players in the merge in Abby and Cass.
Not speaking.
What do you mean?
Now you are. Go. Speak.
The fight between Cass and Abby could still happen. They're both in the game. So, I welcome it. I welcome it. Open arms.
Yeah, I think that it could definitely happen. And Varner, luckily, would be able to just sit there from the TV, and he wouldn't even have to pretend he was watching it on TV because he would be. Yeah. Sorry, Varner. Caleb Sutton. Does Steven really think Joe has a good a chance to win as JT did? If he really is that concerned about getting Joe out in order to win, he needs to broaden his perspective a bit. I think Joe won't and can't win. Nobody will let him like they did JT. I don't know, man. It seems like Joe's starting to blind people a little bit more this season than he did in Worlds Apart. I mean, he oiled himself up, and they literally had people like winking at him, like they showed Tasha like chomping on her cheeks.
Tasha was like, "Oil up, Joe."
Yeah, like oh.
I don't know. I get what this comment is saying. It's like, don't be that worried about Joe. Other people are going to want to get him out eventually. You don't have to do anything about it now. But I don't know. I think Steven wants to make a really big move, and this would be a great opportunity for it. Before Joe gets to the merge, before he can start going on an immunity run, this is your safest time to do it because he doesn't even have a chance. I get what you're saying. I get the comment. It's a good comment.
Zach Valentine. Spencer's going to win this game. He keeps making it through the weeks one way or another, and with the merge, I think he's safe for a few more weeks. Yeah, I think he's all right because I think there's just going to be more people that everybody wants to get out. I think he's going to be okay for a little bit. He's going to be a swing.
Yeah. He has nobody, so people need his vote. People will be coming to him. We really need you to join us. So I think he's going to have a lot of options come the merge.
Yeah. Ezekiel Oldring, Steven or Spencer, who's crying felt more sincere? Steven, 100%. Steven killed me.
I think both were equally sincere. I mean, they're both equally the most hurt. I mean, when he's talking about Spencer in episode 2, I mean, Spencer was like, I can't believe this is happening. This is my second chance. I think Steven, it went on a bit longer, and it was, he was having a hard time to get the words up, but they were both from the heart. They both just loved this game, and it would be so devastated to get out before the merge. I'm just happy for all the players right now that they can say they made the merge. It's a big accomplishment in an all-star season. So congrats to all of them.
Quick question here with the Steven crying. That guy dated Courtney Yates. What do you think Courtney Yates was saying as he's sitting there yelping at the camera? What do you think she was saying? Because there's no way even they broke up. I don't know how they still are. I think they're still friendly, but there's no way she could have been sitting there oh, poor Steven. She had to have been ripping him apart. You imagine that?
I had no idea that they dated.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, dude. They dated for a while.
That seems like such an odd couple.
That's what I'm saying. Here's Steven crying on camera, and here's Courtney making fun of everybody who has ever cried on camera.
I feel like Steven is way too he's too nice and friendly to like be with someone like.
Just attract, man.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like that would mesh. Maybe that's why they broke up, though. Maybe I should be a dating coach.
Dated for a long time now.
Really?
Yeah. Ezekiel, again, when can you guys have viewers being your podcast? Man, everybody keeps asking us. Willie, I'm too nice about it. Say something.
I don't think it's possible to have viewer. I don't understand the question. I mean, I don't know. Steel Punch even emailed in saying like, "Can I text you guys during?" It's like we have the YouTube comments and we read all the comments we get.
The biggest problem is like we can't have people like coming in and out because like it just doesn't work. Like it's not like a radio show where it can just be like a phone call. Like if we could do that, that'd be so much easier.
We can't. I think there's probably a way to set up like a phone call for the podcast, but we'd have to really figure that out. And we're doing 2 episodes a week, and we have a lot of other stuff to do. So maybe in the off season, we're probably going to look into like a podcast hosting website. Once we hit like above 500 subscribers and look into like getting it on iTunes and all that stuff. But we're mid-season right now, full swing, and just, we're busy.
Yeah. All right. Mark Dean, you should do a rewatch of San Juan del Sur in the offseason. That is near the top of my list for rewatches.
I'm sure it is. I can't wait.
And we should seriously like maybe like just like break that down episode by episode, or like not episode by episode, but like
we'll do like 3
at a time or something. Yeah,
we'll do 3 episodes.
Because we were so hard on it, and like that was our first season that we even did any podcasting for, so it might be fun to look back on it. Alejandro Baramarto, who should Jeremy be loyal to, Joe or Steven? I think Joe, because Joe's a better target. Yeah, I think Joe.
Chill. Yeah. I mean, it's clear that he wants to. I mean, I don't think Steven and Jeremy are all that tight, even though they've been on the same tribe since day one. It's just like circumstantially they've had to work together and have been in the same kind of majority. I don't think they have that like great of a personal relationship or anything.
Yeah. Giovanni Oriano with 2 in a row. Do you think the jury will be 10 this season? I do. I think that they're gonna, whoever makes the merge is gonna make the jury. I think they made that mistake in 26 when Corinne didn't make the jury, but she made the merge. I think that they're gonna have everybody make the jury once they hit the merge. Plus, if it's a final 3, having 10 people in the jury isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a chance of this being a final 2 season just because we're going to have a few double boot episodes anyway. What's one more at this point? Also, they know this cast is stacked. And the thing about a final 3, it's to prevent like the runaway votes where it's, who was like the last final 2 before they switched to final 3? It was like for Terry, really, because Terry didn't get in. It was Aris versus Danielle. I guess they wanted more.
And Aris won it so easily.
Yeah, so that was the idea. But I think this season they know that, look, everyone here, like, yeah, sure, we have Wigglesworth and Kimmy, who maybe aren't bringing that much, but Kimmy's playing hard. Like, she went after Monica. I know we have Keith in here, but I think the final 2 is certainly a possibility. I love the final 2 so much. It just makes the final tribal council so much more personal. People go at each other.
The best example of that is Steven versus JT, where it was like they were bros the whole time, and like JT just ripped him a new one. Like, it's fun sometimes.
It's great. It's so much more like intense. The final 3, it's just lacks intensity. Like Missy, Jacqueline, and Natalie. It's just like, ugh.
The worst final. That might be the worst final 3 of all time.
Oh my god.
Oh, Missy.
And then last season, like Will deserves like to be in the final tribal council. Like, ugh. It's I know he's a GOAT and it could happen again, but it's.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to prevent it from being a Mike versus Will final 2. That's really what they're trying to do.
Yeah, no, I hear it. It's just I love. I think with this season we don't have a Will. We don't have a Missy.
Yeah.
I think they can do okay with the final 2. So I would love to see a final 2 in a jury of 9. So I don't know how that would work out. I don't like big juries. I like you have to earn your vote.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think though that it's going to be a big jury because it's a lot of people. Giovanni again, Kimmy and Kelly Wentworth finally make the merge. Thoughts? I think Kelly Wentworth can win, and I think Kimmy's probably going to make it deep just because she's not a threat.
Yeah, Kimmy's got a pretty good shot at this thing. And she's only been in one tribal council also, so there's a reason why we haven't really seen that much of her. She's still in contention. Like, she's in the hunt. I don't know if did I put her in my, like, can't win category last week? I don't think I did.
I think we both had her in our in the middle one.
Okay. In the hunt, yeah.
In the hunt.
Okay, 5 white guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sierra could not have targeted Savage because I don't believe she would have been able to secure the Abby vote. It was much easier to sway Abby to vote Woo, who Abby already wanted out. That's what we think too. That's probably right. Five White Guys again. Really thought that Cass had some sort of chance of winning this thing, but some of the chaos side of her from this episode and from what was shown in the preview, it looks like she's going to resort back to her ways, and which will have no chance. We touched on this earlier. We think it's not the strategic moves that are going to bite her in the back. It's the way she carries herself and, around camp. She can't be like the villainous, bitchy Cass. She needs to be like very level-headed and, be the game player that you are, but don't be the bitch that you were last season.
Yeah. And then the next one, Total Drama Survivor fan. Is Terry a chauvinist? I heard that in the next interview. Okay. Here's my problem here. Most old men are chauvinistic. Like, this is just something that has, been around. You got to think, Terry was, he's, in his 50s. He was born in, the 60s or in the 50s, something like that. Like, a lot of old men have chauvinistic tendencies. Like they just think that way. It doesn't mean that you're a chauvinist or a bad person. And I feel like nowadays, it just gets so blown out of proportion. Anything you say is racist or chauvinistic or, now you're anti-gay. I think that there's just so many issues with that. I highly doubt Terry is a chauvinist. I think that Terry just has the 1960s way of thinking. Go listen to your grandpa talk and tell me if your grandpa's a chauvinist. Now tell me that you don't still think your grandpa's a good guy. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's a chauvinist. It's there was that thing in Panama. He said something and then someone said you're being misogynistic and stuff, and it didn't come off that way, at least through the camera. But yeah, I've heard. I think he's just a guy's guy, and he just loves hanging around the dudes. And I
have uncles who are exactly like Terry, where it's they just want to hang out with the guys. They, that's just what they do. It doesn't mean that they're bad people.
And if there's a sport, if there's a competition or sports, he naturally assumes he associates that with males and men.
That's the 1950s and 60s way of thinking. I'm sorry. That's just how, that's just how it is. That was before everybody got the participation.
Yeah, he's a military guy and everything. So, it makes sense. It makes sense. Five White Guys tonight looked like the mark of Steven's redemption arc that Will's been wanting to see for the last couple of episodes. Very true. And I'm excited about it. I really hope it is a redemption arc and not just setting up for him to be the merge boot for playing too hard or something, because that still is a possibility.
Yeah. And then he says, can't wait for next week already, and great video tonight, guys. Ezekiel Oldring, who are the strategists, who are the pawns, who are the goats left in the game? We'll get into that really in the predictions episode. But if you want to just talk about goats, I don't think there's really any goats. I just think that Kenny and Keith can't win.
Yeah,
Abby's a goat. Wigglesworth might be a goat, but we don't really know how they're viewing her out there because nobody's talking about her. So in terms from the viewers, we know that they're a goat. But Keith could still win because he's likable.
Yeah, there's not that many though, so that's good news.
Yeah. Giovanni Oriana, do you think Andrew will be able to work with Steven? I do not. I think Steven's going to take down Andrew and Joe, and that's going to be that. All these big bad men were mean to him. I feel like that's the route we're going here. Alejandro Buenamuerto, Shane will be talking on Rob Has a Podcast. Thoughts? It'll probably be entertaining. Then you'll see Shane will tell you how he really feels about all these people, so that'll be good.
Yeah, that'd be great. We got to get Shane on here. We got to get a survivor on here. I don't know how we do that. I think we just need to be a little, bigger of a podcast. So make sure to subscribe. I think you do,
because there's some small podcasts that get people, but I don't want bottom feed. I don't want to get Deb.
I'd take Deb.
Yeah, I would take Deb too. That would probably be a really entertaining podcast. Who am I kidding? Yeah, I don't know. we got to figure that out. That would be cool though. No viewers, but yeah, we'll take the survivors. Giovanni Oriana.
Right.
Yeah, is this the most emotional season ever? Who hasn't cried this season? It's between this and Blood vs. Water, man. Blood vs. Water was just crying and yelling and stuff like that. But it's you bring people in who kind of know each other, and it just gets more emotional. I don't know why. Because people just
and it's their second chance,
Yeah, they just want it so bad.
Badly.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak right. Harold Rice, who to you are the 10 sexiest Survivor women? Number 1 is Sydney from Tocantins. Other than that, I can't do a top 10 off the top of my head. But Sydney from Tocantins is number 1. She was insane.
I don't think she's number 1 for me.
She was insane.
I think Danny Boatwright is number 1. She's so sexy. And
yeah,
she
it's
won.
hard.
To win the game in be that adorable and like hot and everything and like a nice person. I think Danny takes it. Amber
This
is
is like
obviously.
No, I'm not a fan of Andrea. I think I've done this.
No,
before.
Amber.
Oh, I thought you said Andrea. I was like, no.
Amber is like, she's a cutie. Kelly Wentworth's really cute. She's really hot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do a podcast sometime.
Yeah, maybe we will. Maybe we'll figure this all out. Off-season podcast. I mean, hey, they did do a top 10 Survivor sexiest women and men on the in that little 30th anniversary booklet. So maybe we'll have to do that just so that we're like true Survivor fans. We'll really get into it too, like whatever. Mark
yell at each other.
Yeah, exactly. She is not attractive. She looks like a troll. Send her back under a bridge. Mark Dean, Steven's edit seemed really good to me too. Steven,
don't talk about Shireen that way.
Oh, wow. I'm even in the middle of reading a comment, and he comes up and says that. Steven had so much edit as being the ugly caterpillar, and now it feels like he is going to have a great arc as a beautiful butterfly. I just want to imagine Steven as a beautiful butterfly. That's really all.
He is a beautiful butterfly.
I guess, man. Harold Rice, do you think Jeremy's plan could work against him and he'll go home because of it? It definitely could at some point.
I don't know. If he goes home, it's not going to be that his plan worked against him. It's just that other people are also playing and see him as a target. Like if Joe wins immunity, it's not that his plan worked against him. Like, because, I mean, just because Joe wins doesn't mean Jeremy was going to win anyway. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's true. The only thing that could work against him is if Joe catches wind of what he's trying to do and Joe somehow convinces somebody to vote with him to get rid of Jeremy.
Yeah, maybe. But I don't know how you really catch wind of it. I don't think he's telling anyone about this except the cameras.
True. Giovanni Oriana, there's 7 girls and 6 guys, and the tribes will merge. Do you think an all-girls alliance is possible at this point? I don't think it's going to happen. I think that they're too spread out. I don't think that they really have too much of a connection, and I don't think anybody's going to be like gunning for like an all-girls alliance. I definitely think that the women could go further than the men, or more women could go deep in the game, but I don't think it'll be because of an all-girls alliance.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to notice that, the merge. It's just you have so many like crazy people. I mean, you have Abby and Cass, and then you have Kimmy, you have Sierra, you have Wentworth, who's proving to be kind of a strategic player. So it's just there's just too many moving pieces for that really to come together. It'd be impressive though if they voted 7-6 against the guys.
Yeah, no, that would be good. That would be cool. And if that was how it ended, like if like the women just ran the game, that would be really funny. But there is Kelly Wigglesworth, and I don't think she would do that. Jim Beam, Fish vs. Joe in this episode bodes well for a future interesting storyline. I give props to Will for seeing that Fish was going to have a redemptive arc. That seems very likely at this point. Knowing that there will be a merge next week, I see the Takeo 2.05 taking on a Jeremy-based alliance. He's guessing Jeremy, Savage, Tasha, Fish, and possibly Spencer. It's going to be interesting to see how the alliances play out and who manages to grape 7 people together. I like the 13-person merge because it's the biggest merge tribe ever and something new. Do you think that Takeo 5 is like the thing here?
I think the Takeo 5 are real because they all survived. They all made it to the merge. They wouldn't have shown us that clip. I mean, and maybe they did show it because it's like, look, Terry wasn't in that great a position, so like he didn't go home. It wasn't that bad. It's not like he was in power with an idol, and he had to leave the game. He was on the bottom of his tribe, so that could be a reason why they showed us that clip. But it's more likely that 5 is going to actually do something. They just need to pull in 2 more. We're going to get into all that in the prediction podcast on Sunday night, so stay tuned. If we're not too hungover after Halloween.
True. Yeah.
If it's on Monday, the podcast, you know why.
Yeah, it is Halloween weekend, huh? Mark Dean, I'd say Sierra for MVP. She was the one that brought up the idea to Cass and had to convince her to agree. She also probably followed up with Spencer after Cass talked to him and really cemented the vote. If Sierra did that, it would explain why we did not see Spencer concerned over believing Cass. But then again, why the hell would you keep Spencer? You see,
that's my problem with the MVP. Yeah, I can't give MVP to
what is Abby's MVP? Because she got rid of her biggest enemy,
but that's just an emotional decision that like doesn't really give her a better position in the game. It really has to be Jeremy. I mean, he got his little ring to start off the challenge against Savage. Like that was awesome. He ate the balut. He ate his food, whatever it was, in his own section. But then he ate the balut at the end. He has the shield strategy. He seems to be everyone's coming up to him. You really got to like Jeremy here for MVP. We gave it to Wu last week. I think Jeremy's more than deserving because he helped in both challenges, and he's in a good spot strategically and provided a lot of good entertainment.
Yeah, it's true. I think that I'm not even going to nominate anybody. Just vote for whoever you guys think is MVP because I don't even know who I would nominate for my team. So just vote for somebody.
So it's Jeremy. It's decided.
No, it's not decided. I'm going to let people vote because I want you to lose still because I think it's funny. Jim Beam has 2 comments, and then we're done. Jim Beam. I think the fact that there's a merge next week saved Savage big time. He was clearly on the outs into KO 3.0. He's probably gone next if there was no merge. He has strong links to Jeremy and Tasha and will likely find a home with those 2 after the merge. I think Phil was right about why Cass didn't vote for Spencer. I think Cass kept Wu to placate Sierra. Cass and Sierra appear to be very tight this season. I did forget Savage was tight with like Joe and Jeremy and Tasha like before they even went to Anchor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
maybe Savage isn't that screwed.
No, he's not like that screwed, but you can see like the edit is really showing that like his downfall is imminent.
Yeah, it's true. He's not winning the game. That's pretty much what it is. Although, like Jim Beam said, if there was no merge, Savage was gone next week, no doubt.
Yeah, unless they won.
True, which they easily could have won because they didn't look like they were that weak of a tribe. Although they did just vote out their second strongest member, or maybe their strongest. And then last comment from Jim Beam. Interesting point by Phil about the Gabon comparison. To add to that, I think all the mix-up make it much easier for new school players. Strong tribes and not many personnel changes is very old school. It's probably the biggest new school season Survivor has ever done. The producers appear to much prefer the new school game. That's like a good point there. That's a really good point. This is very new school, and for somebody like Wigglesworth and Kimmy and Terry and Savage who haven't played the game in so long, I mean, this had to be overwhelming for them.
Yeah, I mean, the producers are keeping up with the trend too. Like you got to keep it interesting, keep it dynamic, keep it moving. I mean, when you have just 2 tribes and they merge at whatever 10 or 11, and one tribe has more numbers, it just isn't as interesting. We can't have podcasts. That's what rose. The internet obviously came around, but we wouldn't be having an hour and a half, hour 45-minute podcast if there's just like 2 tribes and no tribe swap.
Yeah. It's true. But that's it for comments. So vote for MVP and vote for LVP. And
who is LVP? Let's think about this. Maybe Savage because he was so comfortable with the numbers.
Yeah. It could be Savage.
I think, and he's on your team, so that makes sense. So Savage or LVP, and then give it to Jeremy, guys. Why not?
This way, Will can just keep getting points and then somehow blow it. Although you have Tasha, Jeremy, Spencer, and Steven, so I don't see how you lose.
Yeah, no, and Jeff Probst.
Wentworth just starts playing idols like crazy and, does something cool. I don't know.
All right, we'll see. Thank you for listening. If you made it all the way to this video, congrats, because this was another long one. They're all long this season.
This one's so long.
It really is. I've got to write an article on the affair, so I will post that link in the description when it's finished. How to get the plug in there. Be sure to subscribe. Comment your comments and questions for the prediction episode on Sunday night, and throw the video a like if you would too. That always helps us out. And you got anything else, Phil?
That is it.